Hi, I'm Richard, and if you stick with me to the end of this video, I am going to unveil a treasure trove of previously unheard of secrets about two of the deepest health challenges we all encounter. Why do you get sick, and how can you heal naturally? I want to expose you to the pure answers that mean the difference between you or your client wallowing in debilitating pain, robbed of even a single positive thought because you feel like you've been hit by a tornado, or the opposite, feeling vibrant, full of zest, as each cell is bursting with energy, as you feel like a tiger, feeling supercharged. And as my 7-year-old son says, who is always full of the joys of life, when I ask him, "How you feeling today, buddy?" he replies, 100% awesome, Daddy. Feeling amazing is our God-given right. And if you knew how to induce a true healing response, being able to kick any chronic illness into touch, crack the code of even the most nightmarish of issues, that would be magical, wouldn't it? Well, in this special video, I promise to tear apart the limited thinking about illness that we all have. Open your mind, your body, and your soul to the hidden secrets of why you get sick. Relish in the simplicity of how you can heal, all in a fraction of the time that it used to take, and where the end result is you or your client does all their healing themselves, as Mother Nature intended, naturally, whilst they are assisted by you and through collaboration with their doctor. I also know that during such videos we get distracted. I do too. So can I make a friendly suggestion? Put your smartphone on vibrate, put Skype on do not disturb, stop your email from dinging. I'd say close down your internet, but you can't because this video is on it. So just use it to search around the things I mention. And there will be a host of things to investigate now or later. Close your door, put on your headphones, and take some time out for yourself to watch, listen, and digest some unique, groundbreaking material. But before I get into the juicy material, let me just bring to light who this is for. If you're a natural health coach who believes that the link between stress and illness is as real as the sun coming up tomorrow, or if you're a wellness coach, a practitioner of an energetic discipline, or just a sufferer of a chronic illness who has been looking for an energetic answer to how you can heal yourself naturally, then this is for you. Oh, and since we're spilling the beans on health here, I need to do some due diligence. So here it goes. If you or your clients are suffering from any form of medical or psychological issue or pain, if you've not already done so, go see your doctor and tell them what's happening to you. I know many of you already know this, but it's always worth repeating, isn't it? You see, in this video, I want to expose an energetic and traumatic connection to disease or pain that does not cover the physical, mental, or chemical side of disease. Doctors do that, and they do it really well. So this is not a substitute for seeing your doctor. This work that I want to share with you, we openly work alongside them. What we do is we address the emotional and energetic issues that we believe are linked to disease, something doctors aren't that experienced in doing. And I have a simple philosophy though. See your doctor before you see an energetic coach like me. Let's also mention the cure word as well while we're at it. People often ask me, can I guarantee to cure them? That's not possible. 1, I'm not a doctor. 2, I've never cured anyone of anything except myself. And 3, it's the same for you. In my world, and many enlightened doctors will also tell you, if you ask them nicely, you cure you, you heal yourself. You see, what I'm about to share with you comes from oodles of evidence that certain emotional traumas can result in a disease down the line. And what I personally discovered is that if you know how to correctly turn these incidents around, then people's diseases can be reversed and they end up healing themselves. Does it work all the time? I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. No. But there are many approaches to healing that promise you with the earth, but then fail to deliver because they're either tedious, complicated, or lacking in some way. And the approach I'm about to share with you is beautifully elegant. Not only does it have a scientific basis behind it, not only does it have a spiritual intelligence built in, it blends all the great energetic techniques into one. It's truly evolved. It's like Google Maps in 2016, which can navigate you to your destination on your smartphone. It can tell you where the jams are, leading you to where you want to go faster, easier, and simpler than ever before. Likewise, when it comes to healing, this work navigates you to finding why you got sick. It tells you which blocks to clear, gives you straightforward directions on how to heal yourself. And just like Google Maps, it makes getting there quicker, simpler, and smarter. Let me give you a couple of quick examples. This is Tim. He was afflicted with burnout and clinical depression in 2012, which had persisted for over 2 years. This was due to the loss of 2 family members, a breakdown of a long-term relationship, demotion at work, and to exacerbate things, his father's diagnosis with cancer. And with what I'm about to share with you, in one session, we were able to pinpoint the kernel of his depression and diffuse it permanently. Lately, he told me, I could not believe that in an hour and a quarter, the whole mess I was in was done and dusted. It's now 2 years on, and yes, I've had my moments, but that depression is gone. Here's Jacqueline. In April 2013, she had a heart attack, and after a week in intensive care, she was sent home to accumulate her strength, to prepare her for open heart surgery, so her doctors could correct a mitral valve and unblock an artery. She commenced using the material I'm about to reveal to you on her own in the hospital and subsequently when she got home. After 2 months recuperating, she went for tests to ready herself for surgery. But instead of the expected follow-up consultation with her specialist to deliberate over her operation, her local doctor requested to see her, giving her some really astonishing news. Her blocked artery was entirely clear and the valve was functioning normally. He informed her that she did not need heart surgery. He was amazed with the test results and could not explain what had happened. She said about this material, it not only helped me with the physical part of my healing, but it was what sustained me when I was in hospital. At no time did I feel I was gone. I always felt like I was going to heal, and I was just a beginner. I did this all on my own. And then there's Shiri. When I first met Shiri in 2010, her health and family life were in chaos. She was earning a trifle as a life coach. She could not hold down a relationship, and the medical condition she lived with had gone from bad to worse. And after working with me and this material, she found the origin of her troubles. She healed herself, working along with her doctors. And from what she's cultivated from the years of dealing with the medical profession, the pain and the ongoing medication she'd been through, she has created a unique international company called the Medical Coaching Institute. She now has a genuine, loving relationship, and her family life is peaceful. And as a measure of the changes that this work has helped create, she's earning way beyond what she could ever have imagined. And through her students, she has been the catalyst in assisting thousands of people worldwide, right at the time when they really need it most, following a tough diagnosis. And let's be transparent about something else. This video is packed full of rich information. Please do take notes. And if what you're about to watch sparks something inside you, you might like to discover more. And for that, I'm going to put my reputation on the line. Give you an irrefutable reason to watch to the finish. If this wakes something up in you, then you will have a chance to do something about it. If not, I warrant that you will have bagged some knowledge that you would not have found elsewhere. So to explain and paint more of a picture what this is all about, let me tell you a story that I hope will open your mind and open your heart to the answers of those 2 core questions I mentioned at the start. Why do you get sick, and how can you heal? It's really a story about Mother Nature and how you can tap into her pure intelligence. The story begins in 1971, where the middle of 3 boys, that's me, I was 8, is asked by his daddy to head upstairs along with his older and younger brother to see their mummy who's waiting for them in her bedroom. My older brother heads in first. Excited, I wait optimistically at the bedroom door when after a few minutes he bolts out, stumbles past me and my younger brother, tears streaming down his face as he blubbers something incomprehensible to us, and then he sinks away. In treads me, now wavering, to see my mother doing her lippy and placing those thick white curlers in her hair, just like any other day. I can still smell their perfumery, steamy aroma. And then she says, "Richard?" She waits for me to look at her. "I'm leaving your father." But that was not the real blow to my heart. It's what she said next that really hit me. "And Richard, my sweet little boy, I'm not coming back." My mind went blank. That void finally opening up after I had a few seconds to fully ingest her cold words. Words a mum should never, ever have to say to her babies. I loved her. She was my world. And I remember saying, "Don't go, Mummy. Please don't go." I scrambled all over her, tugging at her blouse, desperately trying to persuade her not to leave, looking her right in the eyes, pleading with her. And as it finally dawned on my young, innocent mind, tears now streaming down my face, as I grabbed hold of her so tightly, giving her one last final hug, because deep down I knew this was it. There was no turning her around. Her decision was final. She was never coming back. I don't remember letting go or even leaving the bedroom for that matter, but I guess I did, and the next thing I recollect was the emptiness, a black hole in my life, and this open wound, a place where there was once joy, where there were once hugs and kisses from the most precious person in my world, was now full of nothingness. No Mummy. No warm, caring voice in the morning telling us it's time to get up, smiling, loving and nurturing. And when we came home from school, no asking us how our day was, no cuddles anymore, no tickles or telling us, "I love you." She was gone. My dad was great, but he was not my mum. She moved an excruciating 8 to 10 hours drive away to be with another man. He could not afford to have us 3 boys live with her. He also had a boy of his own. So we would reunite with our mum during the winter holiday period, Easters and summers, only for our hearts to be broken each time as we regurgitated this cutting of each other's heartstrings. Long-distance relationships don't work for adults, and they are even more crushing for kids. It was horrible. We missed her. We all did. There was no Skype, no FaceTime, no smartphones to easily call on, just extremely expensive long-distance landline calls, which we were rarely allowed to do. One of those summers we spent with her, a couple of years later, I remember my mother, out of the blue, loudly bounding down the stairs, scurrying out of her house in some sort of weird frenzy. She jumped into a car, screeched off up the road without a word of explanation, only for her to return a few hours later, ashen white and speechless. She did not even acknowledge us at the front door as she hovered by and silently vanished upstairs, gingerly closing her bedroom door behind her. We later discovered that was the day when her world blew apart, the day of her diagnosis, the day that she found out she had breast cancer, and it was bad. And over the next few years, my eyes were tortured by seeing the most beautiful woman in my world, my gorgeous mum, crumble as she fought like hell to stay alive. She had a great doctor and the best treatment available to her in the UK at the time. She did everything: chemotherapy, radiotherapy and surgery. We didn't see much of her near the end, but I also tragically recollect the morning a few years later when my bedroom door brushed open and my dad's face popped around the frame. He was a great dad who would wake me up in the morning this way to go to school. But this day was different, because he then slunk into my room, dropped down on the end of my bed, and without looking me in the eye, tears rolling down his cheeks as he swallowed. I could tell he did not want to say what he had to say. It seemed like an eternity before he uttered these dreadful words, words a dad should never ever have to say to his children. "I'm really sorry to tell you, son, but your mum died last night." I lay there motionless, staring up at the ceiling for what seemed like an eternity. We had not seen our mum for several months. I'd wondered why, and now I knew. My lasting image of her burnt into my mind is just a picture of her sitting in a chair, seemingly too weak to get up and greet the Queen Mother, who was shaking her hand. She was visiting the hospital where my mum had spent her last few weeks of her life, the cancer having finally beaten her. But that day, although shattering, was powerful. A strike that hard can inspire you to fight back, can't it? That day I made an important decision, one that would have a lasting impact on my life for many reasons. But thinking about it now, it was even bigger than that, because it was to go on and transform many other people's lives as well, in a remarkable way. All of us 3 boys went to school that day. We were a mess, and as I climbed a small hill to get to one of my classes, not walking with one of my friends, as you can envision, any sympathetic word or look from a friend could cause you to burst into tears. It was at that time I made a decision that later became my quest, and I can hear myself uttering these words even now. I am going to figure out why Mum really got sick, and I'm going to damn well unravel how the hell we do heal, so no one else has to go through this misery. Even back then, I had an instinct. I knew there was a huge piece about healing that the doctors had missed. The question was, why did their therapies not always work? I knew I could uncover an answer, or at least play a part in finding that answer. And over the years, I absorbed and digested anything related to healing, most of it medical. And one drug sticks out in my mind because it came with so much hype and blinding promise. I was hypnotized. Its name, interferon. A wonder drug so mighty that we were told it could heal virtually any affliction. After I heard about interferon, I remember breathing a deep sigh of relief, saying to myself, I can finally stop searching now. But my words were crushed as it dawned on me that as quickly as each wonder drug appeared in a mass blaze of fireworks, the show would be over as quickly as it started, and all that would be left was a puff of blue smoke, along with the prevailing stench of rotten eggs, drifting away aimlessly in the wind, never to be seen of or smelt again. And then months later, another odorous wonder drug would miraculously hog the limelight with the same blaze of fireworks. And on hearing about President Nixon's war on cancer, which had been raging since 1971, the same year my mum left my dad, the battle now being fought on all fronts against this inner tyranny, his pledge that we would all be definitively victorious made me and many others worldwide believe that those enormous strides in the saving of many lives by his vow to eradicate cancer as a cause of death would again give us all, and especially me, the respite I so desperately yearned for. But it didn't. Time and time again, the BS machine would be wheeled out as promise after promise would fall repeatedly flat smack on its face. And now some 45 years on, and probably having spent over $4 trillion on this war worldwide, dollars governments dole out alongside the real givers, you and me, with your endless, generous giving of your hard-earned cash freely to charities. All in the name of this crackpot war, and the same cruel game is being fought even now. Wonder drug and treatment appearing in a blaze of fireworks, and then disappearing off in a puff of rotten blue smoke. A few months later, showing up with a new wonder drug or treatment that falsely promises an end to this war, that those in power have no intention of stopping. Bewildered, as it dawned on me, how the wonder drug game was so obviously being fixed, not by your doctor, but by the big players and government servants, while brazenly being repeated over and over again. Surely, am I the only person, like the child in the story of the Emperor's New Clothes, who could see the naked truth? Has not one of these organizations tasked with the critical job of caring for their people made the blatantly obvious connection between a sickening, stressful event and the onset of a disease? A perfect example being my mum's cruel divorce and her self-inflicted ripping away from her 3 precious boys, causing her breast cancer and subsequent metastasized death. It was completely obvious to me, even as a 12-year-old, and in talking to you, talking to practically anyone you ask, except some brainwashed souls in the medical profession. I found that you too have made this connection of how sickening stressful events have some link to disease. It's not really rocket science, is it? But it seems the very people that are charged with healing us, those in the medical profession, are schooled by those in power that this link is tosh. Neither is there any money, not even a penny of that $4 trillion put into establishing that there could be a link. Just look at where your charity money has gone and still goes from the billions of dollars you give to research each and every year. That decision I made when I was 12 obviously drove me in my education. I wanted to get into medicine, but at the 11th hour, that never happened. Probably some form of divine intervention. Call it what you will. But something, or more likely someone, was deliberately steering me. So I ended up entering the family wine business. Ironically, I did not warm to the wine trade, even though I became highly accomplished at it. As I globe-trotted around the world, sniffing, slurping and spitting out wines, bringing them back to the UK to be sold. And I was well on my way to wine tasting stardom. Whoopee for me, you're probably saying, as I worked towards the highest accolade in the industry to become a master of wine. I will be honest with you, I lived a very privileged lifestyle, and I often joked that I had more champagne in my fridge than I ever did milk. But even though my life looked luxurious from the outside, it was crummy on the inside. And in the mid-90s, I ended up sabotaging myself, resulting in me losing the dream job, losing my expensive car, losing my beautiful apartment, and losing my future wife, all in a demented 3-month period. It was during that time that a trickle of insight started to slowly enter into my universe, as I was pulled by the scruff of my neck into the fuzzy world of energetics. The avalanche really started to rumble following those 3 disastrous months, when one of my best friends forced me kicking and screaming into listening to Brian Tracy and his psychology of achievement. As he pressed down the play button on the first tape, he said, "Listen to this." I glared at him and snarled, "I'm not listening to any of your American claptrap." He glared right back at me, snorting at my comments, saying, "Oh, Mr. Almighty Wine Taster, where's the champagne in your fridge now? You might be able to afford a can of Coke on your wages, if you're lucky." He was right. The hard truth was, I had hit rock bottom. I was working as a petrol pump or gas attendant, living in a hovel, skint, belligerent, and acting as if the world owed me a living. Even though I was hostile to this new, fuzzy, energetic world, I grudgingly force-fed myself with Brian Tracy's words. And to my total astonishment, when I exercised what he said, it flipping worked. Later, my friend introduced me to the work of Anthony Robbins and his personal power tapes. That again, to my surprise, was wickedly effective too. I turned my life around. However, whilst Brian Tracy and Anthony Robbins are excellent at personal development, I found their grasp on energetic healing was deficient. So I delved deeper into their work with a fresh spirit to find out where did the little snippets they knew come from. I discovered the work of Dr. Tad James and his professorship and ceaseless exploration of NLP, timeline, hypnosis, and reassuringly, energetic healing. At that time, Tad had just unearthed the work of a maverick German medical doctor called Dr. Hammer. This doctor had made the link that I had been so desperate to uncover, and a minute amount of his work had been translated into English by Tad's team. So when those papers landed on my lap, express post from the US, I opened them in a fury, and there it was, in black and white, a crucial piece of the jigsaw puzzle. The cause of breast cancer starts with a sickening shock, where someone you deeply love, usually one's child, is brutally ripped from the breast, the bosom of the family, by someone or something where the woman has no control over the situation. Stopping a woman from literally being able to nurture her child with her breast milk, to do what Mother Nature had intended her to do, to feed, to raise, and to care for that defenseless child. I remember being mesmerized by that document for days, as if I had stumbled across the Holy Grail. Over the years, I came to study Hammer's work through another organization called Meta Medicine, now called Meta Health. But before you go off and search for more about them, you'll absolutely want to ingest what else I figured out. I became Meta Medicine's head of training. I was there at the start in 2004. There are still videos on the internet of me lecturing about this link between a sickening shock and a disease, along with numerous students, many of them now trainers themselves, presenting precisely what I taught them. But this connection I had come across was only a piece of the puzzle. Knowing this information does not heal anyone. Admittedly, back then, I did have some incredible energetic clearing tools at my disposal. Learned from Dr. Chad James and one of his top protégés, David Shepard, now a world leader in NLP in his own right. Those tools did assist me in equalizing the sickening stressful events that were cited as the energetic cause of a disease. But it was clumsy, taking hours to uncover just one event and equalize it, when the client often had several. It was definitely designed for people with deep pockets, and it hasn't changed much since those heady days. So that got my creative juices flowing. How could this whole process be accelerated and simpler? Was there more to healing than what Hammer and Meta Medicine were teaching? During the years with Meta Medicine, I uncloaked for many how a sickening event that shakes a client's world laid down the foundation for a disease. I also unmasked for them how the same event would light up in a corresponding location in the brain. As you can lightly fathom, my quest had made me vivacious in uncovering as much as I could, and this link between what was going on in our brain matter and a disease organ truly enthralled me. Apparently, you could see these sickening events in brain CTs. So I made it my job, even though I had no formal medical training, to learn how to read them. CTs are complicated X-rays, just so you know. I did so under the guidance of a lovely German doctor called Dr. Anton Bader, who had previously been schooled by the Maverick Hammer. The astonishing insight that I made from this is that every emotional agitation we have ever experienced, and therefore each illness and disease we have had throughout our life, have all been diligently recorded in our brains. And therefore, if you know how to decipher what you see, you can read a whole client's disease history from their brain CT. I examined, researched, and pored over everything, presenting the principles around the globe. And I carried on advancing it. And part of that journey was penning a book about these discoveries called Why Am I Sick?, now published in several languages by the prestigious Hay House Group. But over time, cracks started to appear in this work. And one of those was filled by a friend and mentor of mine, the late Peter Fraser, who was the Chief Scientific Officer of Ness Health, which is an energetic measuring device and wellness system with deep roots based in acupuncture and homeopathy. Peter divulged something to me that still reverberates through me even today. "You know, Richard," he said, "when it comes to energetic healing, it all begins with the heart." "What?" I honestly castigated. "That boring little lump of beating muscle in your chest that does nothing more than pump blood? How on earth is what you are saying even conceivable?" He then rebutted. "The Chinese grasped this over 2,000 years ago, Richard, and any acupuncturist will tell you so. And we silly scientists have only just found out it's true." Well, it turns out he was right. Our hearts do have their own itsy-bitsy nervous system. The HeartMath Institute in California have exposed this fact, and many other scientific anomalies about what we all thought was just a boring old pump inside our chests. But for me, that wasn't enough. I knew there were other holes to be filled. And as I pondered this thought, I recalled from the depths of my brain a significant piece of research I had uncovered in my book about another seriously mistreated nervous system that we all possess, called the enteric nervous system, which had been ceremoniously brushed aside by the medical scientists because it's odorous, being about digestion, poo basically, and who would want to major in that? But it was then I had a eureka moment, where everything came together in a bedazzling way. This union of many fragments served to put to rest that quest that I had laid down back on that hill on the day my mother passed. So here it is. What causes an illness is a sickening shock, often so debilitating that it tears the very fabric of our universe apart. Something so devastating such as hearing your partner of 20 years is banging your best friend, or being coldly axed from a job, completely out of the blue. Maybe a titanic clash with a loved one, being sexually violated, or grievously bullied. I can go on, but I think you get the picture. That shock is absorbed by the heart's energy field first, through its own independent nervous system. Each one of the 3 separate nervous systems in your body commands its own electrical and magnetic field, which is altered by the energy of the sickening event. The shock, having immortalized itself in the heart first, then journeys from the heart up into your brain, vibrating through your central nervous system. Then it surges down your spine to your coccyx, where it does a U-turn and flows up into your belly, entering your enteric nervous system. It is then that an organ is picked, one that is qualified to deal with the sickening shock. This is set in stone by embryology, the science of how we have evolved over millions of years through adaptations that your organs have devised in answer to ongoing shifts in your environment. An illustration of this environmental tie of an organ to a sickening stressful event is with breast tissue. Breasts are the only organ intended solely for another human being. Embryonically, their sole purpose is to nurture. So if a stressful event occurs where a woman is ripped away, basically deeply cut apart from her child, then it is this specific organ that responds, resulting over time in symptoms and, depending on how deep the energetic cut, cancer. Can you see the body's alliance between my mother's breast cancer and her batty ripping of herself away from her 3 precious boys that she had not finished nurturing? In a similar way, other organs react. For example, if you hear something that makes you sick to the stomach, it literally ends up causing you gut pain, constipation, and diarrhea. Or if you were deserted by a loved one, banished from your family, or excluded from a group, your body reacts as if you have been left in the desert, where there is no water. Then this shock hits your kidneys, causing swelling, as your kidneys literally conserve water so the heat of the situation doesn't dehydrate you. Each organ has a mission for mutating itself that is married to your environment, and what triggers that change is the sickening shock. How does it work? Following the sickening shock, the chosen organ molds itself around that energetic stew to solve the dilemma. It either grows part of that organ, as in a growth that manufactures more hormones, which can give you more energy, or make you sharper in your reactions, or more seductive to a mate. Or it takes part of that organ away, as with a hollowing out of an artery, therefore allowing more blood to flow through your vessels. The upshot is this moves more oxygen, giving you more energy, especially for your muscles, which builds stamina and the power to fight harder or run faster from imminent danger. Surviving the sickening shock is Mother Nature's focus at this time. If you successfully pull through the shock, then the growth stops, and those surplus hormones cease to be manufactured. You temporarily have less energy, your focus decreases, and you lose interest in that mate. Or things are restored back to the way they were before, as with the artery. With the danger gone, you don't need that extra blood to run away or fight anymore, so the artery furs up, rebuilding the hollowed wall. Subsequently, your stamina plummets as the blood flow decreases. You tend to feel like crap at this time. Ill, unwell, call it what you like, you are sick. But it does not last forever. Mother Nature has switched you from surviving the sickening shock to her new focus, repairing and rebuilding your organs that were under stress, healing you basically. The fact is, Mother Nature conceives a disease with a calculated rationale. Successfully pulling you through the shock is her mission, so you sustain and advance yourself, your family, the overall group, ultimately all of us. It's Darwin's survival of the fittest. What is also thrilling is that all this can now be upheld with the giant leaps science is making when it comes to healing energetically. One example is epigenetics, where a sickening shock can be stored energetically and create a disease many generations later. For example, you can trace back someone suffering from type 2 diabetes to a famine that their great-great-great-grandparents went through. The shock of having very little grub on their table to even nibble on is passed down the generations like an inbuilt survival mechanism that can get triggered in later generations if there's not enough food around. So, if you were carrying this epigenetic time bomb and you purposefully starved yourself by going on some fatty diet, for example, Mother Nature gets lit up. She assumes you're going through a famine. So she restrains insulin, causing your blood sugar to ignite. The upshot is you get more energy from the poultry food that's around. But after you finish purposefully starving yourself, reverting to gobbling down carbs and gorging on refined sugar again, your blood sugar explodes. Mother Nature has pre-programmed you and your offspring to endure a famine, even if the shock that triggers it happens to be real or concocted. But what about chronic illness and autoimmune diseases? Well, these are evoked by you not wholly pulling yourself over to the flip side of that sickening shock. And this can happen daily as we yo-yo from surviving the shock to healing over and over again. Here are a few illustrations along with examples of the sort of muddles we can all get ourselves into that can create such afflictions. You'll instantly recognize how commonplace they are, and you'll notice that daily yo-yo effect as well. Have you ever lost touch with someone that you love? Like they've slipped through your fingers? What connects people to people is your outer skin. Touch, basically. So if this arises, you get eczema. The amplified sensitivity makes you feel like you're still in contact. And Mum told me how her son slowly developed a distressing eczema on his hands, which we sketched right back to him being dumped off at daycare. It was the first time he lost daily contact with his mummy. She'd literally slipped through his fingers. What about being castigated every day you sit down at the dinner table with your family? You're a bit different, so they throw onslaughts of verbal daggers at your face. You'd naturally try to duck and dive to protect yourself. Well, that's what your deeper skin does. And it grows pimples to make your skin thicker. I worked with a guy with this exact situation. His acne was so foul, he'd sprouted a big bushy beard to cover his seeping eruptions. How about having to endure a boss who's a bully? You bottle up your rage, gulping down whatever they chuck at you, all because you can't afford to forfeit your rotten job. A client had this, and her stomach reacted, producing excessive acid to burn away the torment. Or tolerating an abusive relationship, too yellow to dump it because you believe that person won't be able to exist without you. This will hit you at your core, your tendons, your muscles, the cartilage in your discs or your bones. I know this one. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, starred in the movie and had herniated disc pain for over a year as a testament to it. You see, in chronic issues, Mother Nature is trying to pull you through the shock. But you're caught between a rock and a hard place, stuck in no man's land somewhere. You sit in a chronic or autoimmune disease trying to find a way out of that energetic stew, but you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. It's a no-win situation, so you just end up daily wallowing in this stew, half-baked. But what about cancer? Well, that's a bit different. The reason why people get their ticket to an early exit off this planet is because, to be brutally honest, there is no energetic way out of that damn stew. Instead of being half-baked, it's burnt to cinders. Primarily, they can't survive the sickening shock and the resulting stew. And that's what happened to my mum. I do have a question for you, though. Do these explanations make way more sense to you than how traditional medicine muses about disease? You see, they're still trained that the body has blundered and therefore through cutting, burning and poisoning, they believe that they are correcting what Mother Nature has seemingly screwed up. It's as if man thinks he knows better than her. Medicine critically needs an update, don't you think? We, including doctors, all need to work along with Mother Nature, not against her. But the question is, how do you do that? It was then that I stumbled upon an even greater discovery. I had opened Pandora's box, exposing Mother Nature's secrets of how and why she creates a disease. But the real breakthrough happened when I inadvertently reversed that secret process. To my total delight, when I did this, what happened next was that people's pain would often melt right in front of my eyes. Then as time went on, those same people would end up healing themselves naturally. My jaw dropped in awe of Mother Nature's pure magic. What's more, it was elementary, rapid, and whereas in the past it would take an eternity using hammers and medicine stuff, instead you could get to the bottom of the pot, remove multiple stews that were often mushed together, causing an issue, clear them all up, and help set a client free, often in 2 or 3 sessions. Could it be that simple? Had I inadvertently stumbled across Mother Nature's treasure trove, found the spot where she had buried her jewels, and opened her treasure chest to revealing her riches? I reckon so. But it was so she could share with us all her gems, her reasons for creating a disease, and more remarkably, how and why you heal. But where was the proof? It came through training energetic coaches around the world how to replicate exactly what I had uncovered. And on hearing from them about their breathtaking results that they were getting too, often even better than me, it was then that the realization that those questions, why do you get sick and how can you heal, which had been hounding me for over 40 years, had finally been answered. It was about that period in 2013, whilst on a lecturing tour in the enchanted city of Prague, I realized I had to break away entirely from what I had been doing and concentrate 100% on this remarkable, unique material instead. Medicine had been my life for almost 10 years, but these breakthroughs required more. It was taking on an extraordinary energy of its own. I named it Advanced Clearing Energetics, which my students have affectionately shortened to ACE, after the first letters of the name. So, ACE was born, and at the same time I made a solid undertaking to capture all the outstanding material I had previously uncovered, the stuff that genuinely works in real life, dispose of all that garbage, the stuff that seemed useful on the surface but served no purpose, make the complex stuff simple, and create a brand new set of trainings. And I wanted ACE to reflect these splendid advances. So ACE had to be accessible, equal, and selfless. And also it had to be straightforward and enjoyable for you to learn. I didn't want you or your clients to have to do a brain CT either. Sticking your noodle in a donut-shaped X-ray machine, getting zapped with a dose of radiation goes against the grain of wellness, don't you think? Also, you having to ditch everything you previously learnt was an absolute no-no too. ACE had to integrate into what you already do, not abolish it, but expand it, amplify it, and embellish what you have invested your valuable time and money in. I did not want to go down an intellectual egghead route either, since in ACE there's an inbuilt spiritual intelligence, and along with the 3 nervous systems, what you learn when you do ACE is profound. Plus, Mother Nature does all your healing for you. What could be simpler? And like anything that is so simple, it changes how you look at everything you're already doing. But the only way to realize that is to experience it firsthand. Then step back and question what you've been through, wondering if it's genuine or not. When I first started doing ACE, I questioned it all the time. I'm not easily convinced, and you should not be either. But the results that so many of my students and their clients have had since I set up ACE, I can now say, hand on my heart, I know ACE works. And if you'd like to experience ACE for yourself, then how about this? We can meet on Skype or by phone, and I will walk you through an ACE session on something that's been bugging you. That way you can see, hear, and feel, free of any undertaking, what I'm talking about. You can then ask me anything about ACE, share your own story about why you got into energetic healing. I'm sure you have one. And if, and only if, that call sparks something in you, that you want to discover more, you can then question me about the courses I have developed. There are 5 levels, and let me quickly tell you about them. In ACE 1, I cover how to use the only strategy that you'll ever need to uncover the sickening shock and trace it back to its epigenetic roots. Then I teach you how to discharge the whole energetic stew using that spiritual intelligence I spoke about. The outcome is this accelerates your healing, and built into the ACE strategy is a way so you or your client don't repeat your issue again. 99% of all energetic solutions out there don't do this. However, the ACE strategy fuses perfectly with them, making those solutions even more powerful. ACE 2 has all the outstanding information about working with the body gleaned from my decades of examining, training, and distillation of this unique material. I'm sure it'll become your internal guidance system, as it is for many ACE coaches, allowing you to bypass the common mistakes that practically everyone makes, mistakes that could cost you or your client healing time, which could equate to money or lost opportunities, but more significantly, ongoing pain. And the hidden blueprint is covered of how and why organs produce disease and ultimately heal, especially those chronic problems that even flummox doctors such as eczema, irritable bowel syndrome, acne and chronic back pain. Plus those pesky allergies and autoimmune diseases are laid bare as well. ACE 3 covers the precise, intricate details of how and why we create psychological messes, such as bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, anorexia, addiction, and loads more. How to speedily assist a client in turning their sad issues around, as you'll remember with Tim. You'll learn the specific points in the brain that you need to assist your client to clear, so your client can be free of this scourge, lifting their black mist while you, as their coach, work with them alongside their doctor to ensure that the process is uncomplicated, straightforward, and most importantly, gentle. ACE 4 is a special Train the Trainers session that permits you to effortlessly train the ACE Level 1 material to your students, face-to-face, or what's becoming more popular, online. Delivering in this fresh, new way will allow you to train many more students from the solace of your own home. I personally love this approach, as it's a way to help and teach many more people around the world without limitations. And you get to tap into the vast experience of my 25 years of delivery. You'll learn how to avoid the pitfalls and structure your training, or any presentation for that matter, so they all flow magically. And then there is ACE 5, which is Masters, and that's continually evolving. I am pushing the boundaries on this material as far as you possibly can. All of ACE 5 is electric work, and especially in ACE 5, you will find that I'm always delving headfirst into anything that I feel could magnify and expand this extraordinary field. It's now in my bones, as you can probably imagine. But it does not stop there. The Masters also grow with me. They are phenomenal practitioners with unprecedented skills in their specialist areas. Right now, through them allowing me to lead them, we are all exploring cancer and how you can apply energetic healing modalities to it successfully. We've even spent some time exploring particle physics. Yep, it's all energy at its core, so we as the Masters go where the energy goes. And we're looking into how and why acupuncture really works. What is truly going on energetically inside us when we needle or more likely tap on an acupuncture point. Let me share something amazing with you. The experiments we've already done where we've combined ACE with acupuncture are truly extraordinary. And I know you won't take my word for it, but through these courses people change. They heal for one, and they also transform their lives for the better. Being part of a like-minded community is also part of it. We all assist each other. My students and masters will affirm that. Let me explain the true value of doing ACE though. ACE is extraordinary and unquestionably unique. There is nothing else out there like it. Like any gem that you treasure, ACE's value is immense. Because ACE addresses how to heal chronic illnesses naturally. Health is also something you don't realize how valuable it is until you lose it. It costs tens of thousands of dollars to be ill or in pain, not in insurance bills or drug costs, but in lost opportunities, loss of the simple things you take for granted as illness unceremoniously derails us. Let's take depression, which affects millions worldwide, as an example. Research has shown that a depressed person will earn 35% less than a non-depressed person, year in, year out. But more critically, the rest of the family's income is also stunted. For a regular US family, that could amount to an irrecoverable $10,000 lost each year. Depression hurts so much, way deeper than just the loss of money, that a depressed person is 5 times more likely to use illegal drugs with the obvious consequences. Depression also affects your libido, either heightening it or suppressing it. And these people often have severe sexual problems, either with a sexual addiction or horrendous frigidity. And many depressed people are unable to conceive. You can't put a cost on that sort of difficulty, can you? If I was to tell you depression can be lifted simply, and I cover how to do that in ACE 3, that's immensely valuable to you, even as a sufferer or coach, isn't it? Another example is where I personally suffered. This came early on in my energetic career. Do you remember I mentioned that I had a herniated disc? It was horrible. I could not even put one foot in front of the other without being tortured by the pain. It had gone on for over a year, and I was told by a top specialist I would have to live with it for the rest of my life. Even surgery was not an option. I would have given anything to solve it. I wasted $15,000 trying. I almost lost my girlfriend, who nearly left me, because it put a lot of stress on our relationship in forfeited income and numerous lost opportunities. But I was lucky. I used an early incarnation of ACE to get myself back on my feet again, pain-free in less than 2 months. And I teach how to do that in ACE Level 2. What ACE seems to be able to do is priceless. My girlfriend at the time, I can happily say, is now my wife, and we have a beautiful 7-year-old boy who will be 8 this year. Both testaments to the power of ACE. So by grasping, listening and seeing this material in action, you can really assist you and your clients in healing their diseases, that chronic illness, that debilitating depression or distressing anxiety, that horrendous pain that's always there. And all naturally, often in 2 or 3 sessions, where you or your client heals themselves whilst working alongside a doctor. I know you won't take my word for it. Why should you? I wouldn't if I were you. So here are a few testimonials, but there are also many more video testimonials on the next page. That's where you can book some time with me to ask me questions and experience ACE for yourself. Once this video finishes, it will go straight to that page, or you can click or press the button below at any time. Let's get into those testimonials for you. Only the other day I was talking to Karen, whose relationship with her father had always been extremely challenging. Her parents bickered and her father treated her mum like dirt, and Karen would always stick up for her. This shitty family life where she lacked love caused her to suffer from candida, a fungal infection of the bowels, and that lack of love also made her resentful. She acted like the world owed her a living. She felt she was entitled to everything. But we solved both those issues in a couple of hours using the ACE 2 material, and this is what she recently told me. The first big healing was the candida a few weeks back, and now there's no sign of it, Richard. A lot of my stuff comes from my father. He's not well, and when I was with him the other weekend, after the work that we did, he did not trigger me at all. He would have a go at my mum, but I just stood back and I said, this is not my circus. And financially, I've always felt I was entitled to things. I would say, I don't care if I don't pay my bills this month, I'll pay them next month. I am buying what I'm entitled to. But that's all gone now. And she despised her job because she undervalued herself. Moreover, she had to drive 3 hours a day to get to and from work. But literally, the week after we freed the entitlement issue, she'd gone for an interview, which went exceedingly well. and her present work discovered this and offered her a serious increase in her salary with better terms. In just that, she claimed an hour back of her life each day by travelling outside of the crazy rush hour traffic. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? But myself and my students have come to recognise that this type of shift is commonplace in ACE. And as I said, it usually takes only 2 or 3 sessions. So let me infuse about Kari. When she came to see me, she was afflicted with clinical depression and borderline personality disorder. She was on a cocktail of medication. She was instructed that she would never get off her meds, come what may, for the rest of her life. Her personal relationships were in a tangle, her education a mess. She was studying graphic design, but in her heart she craved to be an artist, and she had tried to take her life several times. I worked with her alongside a great friend of mine called Karen Davidson, probably one of the supreme EFT practitioners in the world. And whereas this poor girl Kari was suicidal, after working with her, now, several years later, she is joyfully married. She's a professor of art, and more significantly, she is off all her medication and her psychotherapist has discharged her, telling her she never ever has to return. How to do this incredible work is covered in ACE Level 3, just so you know. Let me tell you also about Libby. Libby is a client of one of my ACE masters. His name is Jonathan Shaw. Libby was afflicted with chronic regional pain syndrome in her left arm, which had improved from a spinal cord stimulator implant. But she was still restricted in what she could do. She couldn't bounce on a trampoline with her kids, horse ride, wear her wedding ring on her left hand, or use a knife and fork normally. And she could only grasp one of her children's hands with her good hand. She attempted many different procedures that brought her no relief, and so after years she just carried on with her life. Then a couple of years ago she started getting excruciating pain in her back, which traversed annoyingly down her right leg. She stumbled along with a stick. She had to stop taking painkillers because she'd been down that road before. And she recently told me, I even had a conversation with my pain doctor about amputating my arm and whether that would help. She went to see Jonathan, and he swiftly linked her back pain with her arm pain, something the doctors had completely missed, and he used ACE on her back and later on her arm. Libby was anxious about trying this, but she hobbled into his therapy room with her stick and strode out without it. That one appointment made a mammoth difference, and a few more sessions later, her sciatic back pain has now vanished, and her arm, that was continually in pain and bent, is now pain-free and straight, and the spinal cord stimulator has been switched off. Now she can swim using 2 arms instead of 1, bounce on a trampoline. She is wearing her wedding ring on her left finger and can use a knife and fork at the same time. All the things you and me take for granted. But imagine how moving it must be to do these simple things once again after 17 years. And the thing that really hits me in my heart is this. She said, I will never forget the look on my children's faces when I took hold of both my son and my daughter's hands at the same time, as in the past they had to take it in turns to hold my only good hand. I don't know about you, but that to me is the magic. It's why Jonathan and so many of us do what we do. It's the true spirit behind ACE. There are so many other examples of how ACE has helped people with seemingly impossible issues that are now resolved, too many to mention here. As I said, if you want to discover more about ACE, I have set out some time aside for you to experience ACE for yourself with me. There is no charge. So you can be the judge as to whether discovering how to do ACE with others or just for yourself is something that you truly would love to do. Now, once the video completes, it will open into my online diary, where you can pick a time that suits you to speak to me. Be at ease about telephone costs. I will call you wherever you are in the world. The diary works out time zones as well, allowing us to spend some quality time together. You can tell me more about yourself. We've all got our own story. And then you can make the right decision whether ACE is a good fit for you or not. to change your life, heal that chronic illness that you may have, clear that crappy anxiety or depression, or help others do the same. And below the diary are some video testimonials and written testimonials you can also scan and digest. Proof that ACE is truly what I say it is. I've also included 2 longer videos where some of my students divulge how they are applying ACE in the real world. Do you recall Jacqueline, the lady who repaired a heart issue using ACE? Well, she recounts her astonishing story in the first one of them around 50 minutes in. This is my life's work, and what gives me more joy than anything else is sharing it with people like you. So I'm really looking forward to listening to your story about your passions with regards to your healing journey, how you maybe want to heal yourself and perhaps help others do the same. And until I meet you, and I hope you do find the time in your busy life to do that, have a really great rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.